What's going on guys? This is obviously Jordan here, back in with another video. This is going to be day 10 of the 30-day challenge, and even though I picked out of the hat that I was going to do a PS5 video today, probably tomorrow, it's more likely I'm going to do it. What I'm going to do today instead is react to this video, but how I bought a flat in London at 24 from Harleigh Reid. I've been meaning to react to this for so long, but back in the days I was using like Xbox Game Bar on my computer and it just wasn't working very well, and it's never figured out how to sort it out until recently when I got OBS Studio. But now we're finally going to react to this video. And what's crazy is that when I first saw this, literally back in August, and this came out in July, so within 2 weeks, she had like 1,000 subscribers or something, maybe even less. This video had like 10,000 views or something. Or again, maybe even less. And since then, I've seen it on like Financial Times, I've seen it, you know, in emails from like Morning Brew and stuff every week. And obviously this video's now got 140,000 views. She's got like almost 7,000 subscribers. You know, shout out to Harleigh Reid for that. That's incredible. You know, she makes good content, very interesting person, cool, nice. But yeah, that's enough of the praise. Enough of the praise. I feel like we're at this age now, you know, me, a lot of my friends, I'm not quite there yet, I've got 2 years to go, but most of my friends that have graduated or are graduating are moving into this stage of life where you're starting to think more about, you know, your future boyfriend, girlfriend, buying your first car, buying your first house. And buying your first house is something that I feel like, even though we all kind of want to do it, no one really understands how to get there, you know, how to go from not owning a house to like saving up, and then actually buying your first house, or getting that mortgage, or how it all works. So to see someone, you know, to see someone in period, you know, actually going out and buying their own house, let alone a young person, let alone a black woman, you know, black queen, you know, shout out to Harleigh Reid again, like, it's something that I couldn't help but when I saw it on my recommended, I couldn't help but watch it. I didn't finish it when I watched it that last time. You can see I smashed the like button already for the YouTube algorithm. But I must have stopped about 5 minutes in, I think, because she said something that I didn't know about, that your mortgage solicitors or agencies, banks, whatever, they only take your mortgage up to like 4 times or 5 times what you're currently earning, your current salary. I didn't know that before, so obviously I paused them. Like, you know what, I'll come back to this when when I'm in a better position to know what I'm talking about, know what I'm doing. And then it occurred to me, like, you know what, I can just actually watch it, react to it, and figure the rest out later. You know, I still got 2 years before I got to buy a house, but I can watch this now and see where it takes me. So yeah, with all that out of the way, for all the students out there, again, shout out to Harleigh one last time. Before I start the video, actually, I can see on the side here, it says, oh my days, I haven't even started the screen recording yet, but I'm recording my screen now. And on the side here, you can see it says, like, all our tags, obviously a name, how I bought a flat, da-da-da-da-da. But, you know, this again, black ownership, black British YouTubers, black YouTuber. Again, I talked about it a second ago as well, that to see anyone buying a house is a big deal. But, you know, when you look at the data, the numbers, like, what life actually is like for black people in the UK, you realise that ownership within the black community is like pretty much zero. Like, we have no property value, no assets, no cash value, lack of education. We're all kind of living in the same areas, like in like the part of London and stuff like that. So this is especially crazy to me. I like seeing things like this. Shout out to my black kings and queens out there. But again, with that out of the way, let's finally view this video.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Harleigh, food blogger, content creator, and
a default to 2x. Oh, actually 1.25. Okay. I think I might have changed that just before starting the video, actually, to be fair. But yeah, I was wondering why she's talking so quick. That's my bad.
In this video, I'm going to be talking through how I bought my first property, a flat in London at 24 years old. As this video will be quite long, I'm going to put in the description the timestamps, the different sections I'm going to be talking about, because not everything in the video is going to be relevant to everyone, and some people might just want to refer to or refer back to certain points. I do have loads of notes on my phone in case I'm like looking down and stuff, but ultimately I will be talking through saving up to buy your first property, how much money you really need, picking a property, getting a mortgage, instructing solicitors,
so that's actually, again, as I was saying, no one really gets to stages from like first buying, you know, deciding you want to have your own house and actually having your own house. Saving up and knowing how much cash to have is, you'd think, relatively basic. You think, you know, you look on Rightmove, you see it's like, okay, 200k for a house, all right, I'll just save like 20k, 10% deposit, whatever. That's not actually how it works. She will explain that herself. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Picking the property, mortgages, solicitors, exchange and completion. So I don't know anything about, I mean, picking a property is very subjective anyway. Mortgages, I get it. If not buying, obviously you need to have a mortgage. But solicitors and exchange completion, don't ask me, bro. We're about to learn a lot from Harleigh's video today.
So in summary, I have bought a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom flat with a parking space in London. Although the address is technically
in London. Oh no. She says actually, it's in Essex. So it's within the M25. It's like in London, but it's not really in London. being someone who was like born and raised in Ladbroke Grove, Notting Hill, like in actual West London. Even me myself now, I'm living in Hayes. I'm like, yeah, I'm in London, but I'm not really in London. Like, London is just so big, and technically anything within the M25 is counts as like within the London like constituency or whatever. London city, not the city of London, like London the city. That's another debate for another day. But yeah, Essex is yeah.
I did not have to pay stamp duty as it was under the threshold for a first-time buyer. I didn't use a mortgage advisor
I didn't
or a
know there
mortgage
was a
broker.
I mean, the thing is, I actually have watched this part of the video before, but if there's a threshold for stamp duty for a first-time buyer, I guess that makes sense because it's trying to help first-time buyers get into the house onto the housing ladder, so they must scrap that property stamp duty, whatever. But it's interesting to know because like, there are all these different rules that people don't really know about. When you're at university in student halls, I don't even pay council tax, let alone all these other fees. But the actual cost of the house is it's not minor. It's still going to be like 90% of what you're paying for. But that's only one part of it. You still have to pay again agency fees, solicitor fees, stamp duty unless you're a first-time buyer buying below the threshold. All these different things that just come into it. Insurance, bills. If it's unfurnished, you got to buy the furniture. There's just so much stuff that goes into buying a house. I'm happy we have videos like this to react to.
Saving up requires 3 things. Number 1, money to save. Number 2, places to save it. And number 3, sacrifice.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, you don't need to sacrifice. I mean, maybe that's just I'm just not so good with money. I'm not buying houses at 24. But if you have a good budget and you know what you're doing, and you actually, again, being like frugal doesn't necessarily mean like you have to make sacrifices. It mostly just means you're like being sensible with your money. Maybe you're making some sacrifice. If you like love going out every night, then you probably should sacrifice that. But it's fundamentally just about knowing what your income and outcome is and trying to figure out how much can I actually save within my means. Because first and foremost, you have to pay for the things you have to pay for. That doesn't include days out with your friends. That includes bills, rent, insurance, petrol, whatever for your car if you commute a lot. Everything else is savable. But it's up to you to figure out how much you're willing to sacrifice or not, or how quickly you want to buy this house, how big of a mortgage you're going to take out, are you going to get money support from your parents, etc., etc. So, I mean, obviously, I take a word for it. I appreciate that. It's true you should be more conscious of your savings, but don't try not to be scared by that. Oh no, I've got to give up all this to buy a house. Like, you can just be sensible. It might take a bit longer. Maybe you have to invest it instead of saving it, using lifetime ISA like I've been doing instead of traditionally just putting it in like a regular savings account. But yeah, don't be too scared off by it, if anything. If this has scared you at all, don't be scared off. If it hasn't, then my bad. But yeah, be sensible with your money, but try not to overdo it.
I save money my whole life. Like, my mum calls me a squirrel because the way I move with money is like a
She just say her mum called her a squirrel, bro.
squirrel. Like, I literally, like, I put some over there, I dig a little hole, put some over there, I dig some deep and come back to it next winter. I squirrel money hard.
I've never
I
heard
really
that
recommend this
before.
in terms of like diversifying your portfolio. Don't just put all your money in one savings account. Try and get into some stocks and shares, try and make some actual investments, little tiny things. You can use apps like Nutmeg just to get you off the ground. I even think Monzo has a built-in investment kind of savings account now. But my key point is to diversify your savings. So for me,
well, how do I need to chat to this girl, man. That's legendary advice. I mean, I wouldn't really call it a portfolio of savings. But that's a semantic argument. What you're saying is 100% right. And I think many people our age don't really appreciate how important savings is. It's not wise or clever or anything to just, to be frivolous and carefree with your money. You need to actually know what's going on. Say, like, this is how much money I'm going to spend. This is how much money I need to save. Me, myself, every account, I've got 4 bank accounts, I think. Santander, NatWest, First Direct, Monzo. And every single one of those has an attached savings account to it. I've also got investments across like what's the platform called? Free Trade, Trading 212. I have my lifetime ISA and like a regular ISA on what's it called? I've forgotten the name of it. Oh my gosh, it's not Hargreaves Lansdowne. It's the other one. It's like I completely forgotten where my investments are. But either way, I've got my investments all around. I've got some like startups, and having a diverse portfolio of your savings and investments and etc. It's just a great way, one, to mitigate against risks. You don't want to risk losing everything if this one account goes down. And also access. You have like different parts of things everywhere in different places. But more importantly, for me at least, is that it's out of sight, out of mind. And it allows you to behave in a way that appeases different risk tolerances. If I know that, this money I'm prepared to lose, I'll just throw it in like a startup on Crowdcube or Seeders or something. If it's like, I'm going to need this money in a week's time or 2 months time, 3 months time, I'll put it in my CHIP savings account where I get 1.25% interest. If you want that account, click the link down below. I've got a little referral code down there for you. But yeah, there's a lot going on. And it's just about, again, being sensible. Out of sight, out of mind is the best way to save, in my opinion. Because if you don't have the money to spend it, then you won't spend it. But yeah, generally that's incredible advice. Like, guys, please be more conscious of what you're doing with your money. And plus, start saving now. The earlier you start, the better, because compound interest is a thing. If you start saving like 5 years earlier, you can end up like making 50%, up to even 100% more money, depending on how you invest it or what you put it into, if you just start a bit earlier, because you have that compounding effect over time. So bear that in mind and start now.
And with the Santander 123 current account, you get 1% interest just on the balance of your current account. If you looked at the interest rates on savings accounts right now, that is pretty good. I think it has actually dropped since I've had the account, but I got that for at least 6 months.
Yeah, Santander, they used to have, I used to have 3%. It was like between £0 and £100 was 1%. Between £100 and £200 was 2%. And then 200 to 300 plus was 3%. That can't be right. I think it was from 100, 200, 1%. 2 to 300 is 2%, and 300 plus is 3% back in the days. And I was like, you know what, I just always had like £301 in there just to get that interest. In hindsight, I should have known. Well, I didn't know, and there was no way I could have known. But I wish I did know that interest rates were variable and that things can go wrong and banks can lower interest rates. Because if I knew that back then, I would have exploited that so badly. My mindset instead was that I had £2,000 as a student overdraft, 0% interest. I can pay it back whenever I wanted to. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just take all of that out, put that into an investment, and leave that out until I need to pay it back whenever either they ask me for it, which they won't, or when I graduate, which is another 2 years from now. Unfortunately, I ended up spending all of that, so it wasn't the best tactic. But it's definitely an idea to, again, be more sensible with your money. And if you can get a good interest rate, I know Virgin Bank is currently offering 2.02% on their account, which I'm looking into getting into myself. But yo, if you can catch yourself some good interest rates, you know, you're in for a good ride.
So earning interest on money that was on its way to being spent, basically. With the 123 current account, you also get cash back on household bills, direct debits to certain suppliers, like your energy supplier, things like that, your phone bill, and you also get cash back on your mortgage payments if your mortgage is also with Santander.
This is actually another good tip, like not just for your mortgage, but in general. Like I remember I used to have a Tesco Bank debit card, sorry. And literally every time I shopped at Tesco's, I got like 1%, not cash back, but club card points, which can eventually be exchanged. Well, not exchanged for, but treated as if they were cash. Like you can buy stuff with your club card points in Tesco's. And it's like just having a way to, like, a lot of the money you have is going to be spent anyway. So if you can maximize like interest rates, reward points, cash back, free stuff, whatever else it may be, try and find an account that works for you. If you like love the bank you're with and you don't want to move accounts, then that's more power to you. But one thing that I did a lot as well was like bank accounts often have these switching rates. If you switch to like First Direct at the moment, I think as well, it's like you get £150 in free, like just free cash, and obviously access to all their accounts. But it's like if you can just figure out a way to switch to good accounts at the right times. I made about £1,000 back in the day just like getting around switching accounts. And I ended up with accounts that gave me like good cashback, good interest rates, good everything. Santander, NatWest. Monzo is probably one of my weaker accounts in terms of what it actually offers me. But I like the app; it's a good experience. But yeah, the point is, look around at your bank accounts and figure out if you can make any shortcuts to make your money work for you.
My last point on saving is about sacrifice. If you know me personally, I do not go out. I would love to go out. Going out costs money. Sacrifices must be.
That's what I was kind of getting at before. Like unless you're joking and playing around. But if you really love going out, you want to see your friends, there's no objective. You don't have to make that sacrifice, not do it and say, I'm not going to go out today. It's good practice. Generally, if you weigh up, the odds, is it worth going out today and spending this much money? Or, how much is that worth versus, the compound interest I get from saving that over a period of time. And generally, I think it's better not to go out. Generally, you get more out of like saving or being frugal or investing or just being, focusing more on yourself and your assets. But that again, it's not to say that you shouldn't do it. If you really want to go out, just do it. You can. This money will come back. Money. What's that quote from Charlie Chocolate Factory? It's like, I want to sell this golden ticket for money. And the kid's granddad's like, you really want to give up this like once in a lifetime opportunity for something that's literally printed every day, that's so common as money? Like, I get it. Obviously, don't hear what I'm saying and just decide you're going to go out every day this week. But again, you're allowed to have some fun sometimes. That's kind of what life's all about. I mean, you're saving for good times. You're not saving up just for the sake of saving up so you can have money. You're not hoarding wealth. We're not billionaires out here. We're just stacking up so we can enjoy our lives later. So make sure that you actually do enjoy your life when the time comes for you to do so. If you can't afford to do it now, that's fine. But make sure, again, when you get to a point where you are sustainable, you are stable, you have that job, you have those friends, you have an apartment in London, whatever, make sure you use that, because that's the whole point of buying it. You know, you literally did this so you can have fun later. Don't just keep working forever. Don't just keep making sacrifices forever. At some point, you have to enjoy yourself too. I'm sure she does. You know, she seems like a great person, but I just wanted to get that in there.
How much money do you need? More than you think. Okay?
Expected.
More than you think. I cannot stress this enough.
Bro, as I was saying earlier, you think you go on Rightmove, Zoopla, whatever, you see the house price, yeah, that's what I need. You need like way more than that. I would actually say, I mean, I haven't bought a house yet, I don't know what I'm talking about. But if it were me, I'd want to have at least double the deposit. So I think you can talk about it later on anyway, but let's say your house is worth 200k. You're generally looking to make like a 5 to 15% deposit, maybe like 5 to 20% depending on who you are. So that's obviously going to be like 10,000 to around like £30,000, maybe like 40,000 pounds as well if you're looking to meet a 20% budget. But if you're just going for 10%, you're just saying, you know, £200,000, you know, so you want to have 10% around about 20k for the deposit. I will say, personally, if it, you know, when it's my time, I'm going to try and have double that, you know, 40k. I'm only going to put half it down to the deposit, but the other 20k is going to be, you know, all the fees, all the bills, all the whatever furniture repairs I need to do in the first week, and even just extra money just to keep on cash on hand on the side in case anything goes wrong in those first like 6 to 12 months, because things always go wrong. Washing machines break, you know, there are leaks, internet goes down, electricity goes down. Just having money on the side available to you, like, you might think 20k is a lot of money to have on the side for a house, but hey man, just to be secure, because you know the worst thing ever is to be in a position where you need money and you don't have it. I'd much rather have an abundance of money to fix these problems than, you know, not have it or have to think twice and be worried about, oh, how am I going to eat next week if I've got to pay these bills, So that's just me, that's my take. Again, anyone, it's up to you how you decide to do what you want to do. When I actually do sit down and, you know, get in a position where I can buy a house, maybe then I'm going to think about it a bit more practically and think about how much I actually need to save up. But yeah, for me right now, I'm saying like
The cost?
double.
So deposits these days are 5 to 15%. Literally, as of last week, as I was planning and writing.
I'm pretty sure that's incorrect. I think you can put as big a deposit as you want down. I don't know, again, I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm pretty sure you can put as much down as you want. Obviously, it makes sense to stay, like, if you do need a mortgage, there's no point well, I don't know, I guess it's up to you, but there's no point putting down like a 95% deposit and again like a 5% mortgage. You may as well just, I don't know, keep the rest of it and then invest it, or just save up to 5% and buy the house yourself. But I don't think it's literally 5 to 15%. I think you can put as much as you are willing to, but most people do decide to do like a 5 to 15%.
So the first number on your how much cash do I need list is 5 to 15% of that price that you see on Rightmove.
What I'd also add is, yes, okay, 5%, you can get a deposit. You know, you can find a mortgage that offers you 5%, 95% loan to value is called, LVT, you'll probably see that around. But if you're someone, you know, if you're trying to buy a house that's worth like, you know, 400k, 500k, 600k or whatever, and you can only save up 5% of that, like, hey, I'm not kind of throwing one under the bus, but maybe you should think more about, you know, how much money you have. Like, you should really, if you're earning, again, going back to what I said a second ago, you can save up, you know, your mortgage has to be up to like 4x your, you know, what your salary is. So let's say you're earning like 100k a year, you can take out up to like 400k of a mortgage. So if you're trying to buy a property that's like 400k's worth, you only have, you know, 5% of that, which is, you know, 20,000. So you're trying to take out 380 grand of a mortgage, which means you have to be earning at least, you know, divide that by 4, it's about 90k. You need to be earning about 90k a year. If you're earning 90k a year, roughly, and you can afford to get a mortgage of, you know, 380, 350k or whatever, you should really be putting down more than the 5% deposit. I'm sorry. If you're earning 90k a year and you can only feasibly save 20k to put down towards a house, then you're not ready to be buying any houses. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, bear that in mind when you come to buying your property. I think most of us, you know, graduate students, we're probably earning between like 20 and 40k a year. So we're looking more at houses worth like up to 100 and 200k, assuming you get a mortgage of about 80 to 160,000. But yeah, again, bear that in mind. Don't just because you can put down a 5% deposit doesn't mean you should. And also, you're likely to get outbid from people that are putting down bigger cash deposits. So that's another thing to bear in mind. If you haven't got as much money up front, sometimes, you know, the landlord or whoever's selling the property might not be as keen to give it, because they can pick anyone. If there's a 50 offers on the table, you'd think they're going to go for the one that either is the most sensible for the house. Like, if you're in a quiet area, you might prefer a quiet person instead of like a bunch of students in the household. But also, number two is money. If someone's putting down 100% cash and you get paid today, I'd much rather take that offer than take this other person who's got half the, got the deposit down, still applying for a mortgage. Because bear in mind, you don't apply for the mortgage first, get it, and then buy the house. You have to get, sign the stuff off. You can get like approvals and stuff in advance, but generally it's not like you buy the house on a mortgage and you pay them that same day, or like that same moment. There is generally a process that applies to that. And that's something that's also, again, going to be taken into consideration when someone's selling your property. So again, just because you can put down 5% deposit doesn't mean you should. Doesn't mean it will work. And fundamentally, it's a very personal choice. It comes down to what your levels are. But yeah, again, bear that one in mind.
My solicitors basically went back and were like, we don't even charge that much. Like, we don't charge that much. This is first time buyer. You're taking the piss, basically.
Hey,
and arrange.
This is just a general rule of thumb. If you're buying a property in, a white neighborhood... Hey man, if you see a golf court in that neighborhood, a swimming pool in that neighborhood, you don't want to be paying. You're going to be paying out the amount of agency fees and conveyancing and da. These solicitors don't mess about. If there's a tennis court, then you know you're in the wrong area.
However, that first payment was £178. So within the first couple of weeks of me owning the property, I was £178 more out of pocket that was required in cash. So next up, we're going to talk about getting a mortgage, and
Okay, so that's the end of the money you need. Again, I want to say, so I wasn't tracking it literally the numbers per maths. I was like adding up, making rounding errors and stuff. But it's literally around about £5,000 you had to pay out of pocket on top of the deposit and stuff. And she mentioned at the end of that clip, she had to pay council tax. She paid £178 council tax, monthly instalments. So what she actually pays, what her actual council tax is 10 times that, plus the 11th month. Which means council tax actually is around £2,000. And if you decide to pay that up front, you're already putting down like just less than you need to have around about 10 grand. As I was saying, you're gonna have double your deposit. You're gonna have around about 10 grand just on your side to cover the bills that you shouldn't even. These are all this mad stuff. Council tax, These aren't even actual bills like not washing up, electricity, internet. Water, gas. It's not even those bills, or like if you have to pay for a parking space or all of that is surplus. This is just talking about what was it? Conveyancing, solicitors, council tax, £720 for a grounding rent or whatever for ground rent. It's money, bro. It's peas, and you need to have a lot more available than you realise. So that's the fundamental point here. But yeah, I'm happy she included all of that because I didn't even know about half of those. But let's get into mortgages.
So you fill out this questionnaire, basically all about you, your spending habits, blah, 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 and they give you a rough idea of how much money you can borrow and how many lenders will lend it to you. So you can kind of get a rough idea whether or not you're going to be pushed into a really small corner of the market, or if, the water's your oyster and you'll have so much to pick from. So
that's a genius idea as well. I heard about this before as well, but for people that don't know, basically mortgage in principle is literally just you get it in advance and they tell you what you're going to be allowed to do, basically. And that's way better. That's by far the best thing you should do, because once you start looking, you might find out when you go to apply that you're not eligible for it. So definitely, once you know you're about 6 months, you're looking to move out, and that's like 6 months to a year, that's when you should be going to get this mortgage in principle. So that's when you should be finding out how much money do I need, how much have I got, what are my limits here, and then actually getting the ball rolling. Because otherwise you're going to be in for a shock, I think, as most of us will end up being when the time comes.
You can be offered more or less than 4 to 4.5%. Don't let that hold you. Obviously, it's also affected by the market itself.
I also think you shouldn't ever. And obviously, I'm not. I don't work in real estate. I don't know how they give out their loans and stuff, the mortgages. But if you're coming in with 5% deposit and you're looking for a 4x salary multiplier for your mortgage, you're probably not in the best possible situation. And they're going to be observing that and saying, look, you have a small deposit, you're taking out as much money as you possibly can. Are you actually going to go to pay off these bills? And even if they're not the ones thinking that, you should be the one thinking that. Are you definitely going to be working in this company, in this industry, earning what you're earning for the next 25 years to continue to pay off this mortgage? Or are you going to be in a bit of a pickle somewhere down the line where you might have to, maybe you're going to change careers? Or if you're buying it with a girlfriend, are you confident that this girlfriend's going to be with you for 25 years to pay off this mortgage? Or are you going to be thinking about, I don't know, maybe I want to break up with her, or this, that, the other, or again, boyfriend as well, if you're the girl, you know, if you're a woman looking to buy a house at the moment, you know, is your boyfriend, is he really down like that? Is he really down like that? So there are a lot of things you got to think about. Fundamentally, if it were me, I want to make sure that me, myself, and I have the ability to put down all the necessary money and pay it off, not just within 25 years, but within like 10 to 15 years. I don't want to be, you know, bringing it down to the wire on the last day of deadline day trying to pay off my mortgage. I want to know that if I wanted to live frugally and just save up and put all my money, or as much as necessary to pay off this mortgage, I could do it within like 10, 15 years. More rationally, more reasonably, I'm going to spread it out and just pay whatever the term is over 25 years. But do I have the capacity to pay this off as quickly as possible? Yes, then okay. No, then either look for a cheaper house or continue saving until I'm at a point where I am comfortable buying this without a friend or girlfriend or parental help. Literally just me on my own. Because otherwise, if you're not doing it yourself, again, what if it's like a short term, like I know your parent give you money, that's different. But again, if you're buying it based on the mortgage of your partner or your friends, that's a big commitment. So bear that in mind. One thing that I think is super, super important that people always forget, they always say, oh, buying your house is your biggest ever investment. It's only, I mean, it is an investment, but only if you treat it like one. Don't just say it's a house, therefore it's an investment. You also have to do this, financial, the fundamental analysis of this property. Is it in a good location? Is the price actually going to appreciate over time? What's the crime like? Is there a school near here? Where are the nearest clubs if you're out here single, living in the city, 24 years old? Like, you want to be figuring these things out, because if you're buying a house in the London bubble, the Bristol bubble, you hear these words a lot. I don't actually know what's going on in terms of what the bubble means, but you could very well be buying a property in an area that's been on the way down for a long time. And if you don't know that in advance, then it's not actually, I mean, I guess it is still technically an investment, but it's not a good one. So make sure, yes, of course, you want to make sure it's a good looking house. Yes, you want to live in an area you actually like. But on the investment side of the coin, also try your best to think about the actual economic benefits of buying this property. Is it in a good area? Is it improving? Is it actually looking to increase in terms of value over time, or is it just in a bad area with people are frequently moving in and out and the turnover rate's quite low and Like, you want to figure out not just the personal side, but also the financial side, because otherwise you could be buying this property and then selling it years later for a loss, or ideally not selling it for a loss. Ideally you want to keep that property, but just bearing in mind the economic side first as well, macroeconomics and
My solicitors were a dream. Estate agents, however, are pieces of shit. Thing that
yeah, hey, estate agents, man. Hey, I've been living with Bristol students know about digs. Yeah, digs. Oh, maybe one day I'm gonna sit down and do a video about digs. Oh man, estate agents, the lot of them are just absolute animals. I've never worked with an estate agent that I actually like. I get it's different. I'm a student. I've only been living out for 5 years, been different places each year as well. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, they all just suck so badly. Anyone out there who's like entrepreneur, you're working on, you do computer science, make us like a little app to get rid of estate agents. Just make it all automatic. AI, all the things, man. Because estate agents, ugh.
So we'll ask for that you will need just ID, you will need your last 6 months of bank statements. You have anywhere between 0 and 30 days to move from exchange to completion. Completion is the day you get your keys.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. So in that 30-day span when you're exchanging properties, that's if you pull out then, all the money you put down before that date, they're like, all right, that's calm, we're keeping that. You ain't getting that back. That's a problem. But that's why it's important, again, to make sure that you know what you're doing before you get into it. This whole exchange completion phase should just be like, moving out, sorting out, like arranging trucks and stuff to move your stuff and getting the keys and getting in. There shouldn't be any second thoughts. Shouldn't be like, oh, where's the money coming from? This, that, the other. Everything should be done way before that, because it's crunch time, man. It's crunch time. Okay, so the rest of this video is kind of just wrapping things up and miscellaneous other bits. But fundamentally, you get the image. Like, there are a lot of steps that go into buying a property and a lot of money involved with it. I learned a lot from this video. Again, I mentioned I'd seen about half of it beforehand anyway. But it's important, and it's always interesting to think about the necessary steps, I guess. Because in any other wake of life, if you're trying to buy bread from the shop, all you got to do is show up, pick up the bread, scan it, pay it, get out. You can't do that in the housing market. There are all these other steps involved, and I understand why. Obviously, the 2008 market crash had something to do with that as well. All the different laws and who owns what and ownership is obviously quite important. Legal stuff as well. But yeah, it's obviously not as hard as people make it out to be. Shout out again to Harleigh for figuring this out. You know, she's 24, has her own property in London. Well, I mean, Essex, but it's kind of London. It's kind of London. So yeah, shout out to Harleigh for that. That's actually a very good achievement, and it's obviously a very people forget how hard it is. Well, don't forget, but I guess because we're still young, we don't really know yet how hard it is to buy a property. So for her to have one is actually very, it's extraordinary. It's crazy, and I have a lot of love and respect for her for doing that. But yeah, that whole Forex salary thing. I mean, people who watch the channel frequently, you know that when I was doing the internship game last year, and obviously will continue soon, I was applying for banking roles, working in finance, working in consulting roles, engineering roles. So I'm looking at a salary of anywhere between like 35 and 50k. So for me, Forex, that salary is fine. I can get a mortgage up to, in theory, if I do get these jobs, up to 200k of a mortgage if I get a role that's paying 50k a year. But even then, that's not included. That's not including the deposit I got to put down, which is probably like a year of savings. All the other stuff involved with that, the actual planning and finding the time to go and do this. If I'm working in tech, tech management, tech consulting, where I'm just doing like loads of hours a week, how much time am I feasibly going to get to be doing house viewings and signing contracts and doing this and da 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 da? So there's a lot of things that go into it, especially for someone like me who I live again in Hayes, that's just outside of London. Well, just outside of central London. I'm still in London, but I'm a bit out. So it's going to take me a good like hour and a half, 2 hours to get to work each morning. That commute's going to be very, very long. So bearing all these things in mind, again, this is why I said earlier as well, start as early as you can. Not just thinking about it, but also like saving up, because compound interest. I must have been putting about £50 a month on average, I think, into my Help to Buy ISA. And over 2 years now, I've got about £1,600 in there. And that, again, compound interest is growing, it's growing, it's growing. Every month, I can check it right now. Actually, I still don't remember where it's saved. And now we're going to find out where, now is the part where we find out, AJ Bell. That's where my lifetime ISA is. That's where my investments are. So, yeah, we can find out another day how much money I actually have saved up. It's currently, the last time I checked it was around about 1700, 1600. But yeah, start right now, as early as possible. Start now, because that will make the rest of this process so much easier. Even when it comes to learning things, watching these videos, you might not get all of it on the spot, but at least then, when in 5 years time, 10 years time, whenever, when you actually sit down to try and buy these properties, you're gonna know what the words mean. You're gonna know what to look out for. You're gonna be like, huh, so why is this estate agent charging me like £2,000 when like Harleigh's experience was like a couple hundred? And you have to have a better understanding and more perspective when it comes to these situations future in your life, because they will come. You will be, I hope you'll get to a point in your life when you're ready to buy a property on your own, me myself included. So yeah, get the knowledge while you can, get the money started as soon as possible. Lifetime ISA, one important tip with that is that once you open it, you legally have to wait a year before you can close it and take the money up towards a house. So if you are trying to buy a house within the next year, obviously don't open the lifetime ISA. But if you know that, at least a year from now and so on in the future, you are going to buy a house, again, start that as soon as possible so the clock is ticking. And then from 1 year from now you can use that to spend on your property. So yeah, that's basically it for me. Thank you again. Shout out to Harleigh Reid for this video. I'm going to tag her video down below in the comments, or I'll also put it up in the iCards, wherever the hell it is in this corner. Screw all estate agents. Let me just put that one out there as well while we're wrapping this up. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.